Hey, how's it going? And welcome. My name is Johannes. I was actually asked to make this video, and initially I was kind of hesitating because I thought that I don't have any expensive item in the apartment. And all the more that he convinced me to create this video because he thought that I was able to achieve this expensive look for less. And so here we are. The first thing that I would like to suggest is to have a stylish storage solution. Hear me out. So I have helped friends to do makeovers, and I have other friends who ask me for some tips and advice on how to elevate their spaces. And one thing I've noticed that is a common denominator is that the place is always full of clutter, like a lot of unnecessary items, and that's why I always ask them to first do some purging, do some Marie Kondo, and then comes the stylish storage solution, because I know that for a lot of us we do have limited spaces for storage, and that's why my idea to have a stylish storage solution. So these are some examples that I have in the apartment. The first example is basket, and I do have several kind of these baskets in different forms and shapes and spread across the apartment, which I'll show you. So this one is by the entryway. So it is the stool where we sit to change our shoes and stuff, and underneath is a basket where we put a lot of the Shishi's stuff. So Shishi is our pet dog, and so her leash, her wet wipes, everything that we need is all here, because we do have limited storage by the entryway, so it's just kind of convenient. And I always prefer to have my storage unit to have a lid or a cover because we don't want to see the mess inside it. I have another one that is floating in the middle of the room, and that's where we put all of Shishi's toys and just easy access for her. And I do have a lid just in case I do want to film, or we have guests, or for any reason that we want to just keep the space a bit tidier. So we can just cover it up if we want to, but usually it's mostly open. For myself personally, I have one that is under the desk, and it's tucked away in that corner because it has low foot traffic, and this basket has no lid on top of it. And whilst I might seem like a tidy and clean and organized and demure, but actually I'm very messy. And inside the basket, I'll show you that there's a lot of random stuff, like there's a keyboard and different kinds of external drives and tripods, fan, pen, just random stuff, and I don't want people to see it, so that's why it's under a desk, especially because it has no lid. One of the ways to make a place look so cluttered and messy is that when there's a lot of exposed cords and wires and cables, and that's why I do have a lot of these little boxes here. What I call it is like a wire box or something, but anyway, just to hide all the cables. And preferably I want them to be in neutral color or similar color to its surroundings so that it's going to be invisible. The main purpose is to hide it, and that's why I don't want to have a contrasting color unless it fits your aesthetic. We are now back at the entryway, and I do have this little jar right here, and that's where I put all my stuff like keys and whatnot, lip balm, etc. And this was actually a gift from my friend Raul. That was like I think 10 years ago. I'm trying to see where to look at because I'm looking at the mirror. Yes, so jar, and for some people they actually have a decorative bowl by the entryway, and that's where they put all the stuff. But for me, I feel like if there's no lid, for me, I'm big in lids, as you can see, because I'm just so messy. I can tend to just abuse it with putting and dumping like a different kind of stuff, and I'll just leave it there for days on end. And so yeah, lid for me is important. And I have one more stuff in my office space. Actually, it's a little box, and that's where I put my accessories as well, like a necklace and bracelets and rings, etc. So it's there because I just prefer to leave it there, and it's based on my habit and my lifestyle. And again, I don't want to highlight it, so that's why in terms of the color it's neutral, so that's why I can easily tuck it away in any parts of the desk and it'll remain to be invisible, I think. Another example for a stylish storage solution is to have a furniture that is multifunctional with storage. So for me, I do have this chest that I've been using as a coffee table, and because we do have limited storage here, and this one has a lot of different kind of games, I think, and some other extra painting and such is all stored in this little box here. And I do like the fact that it's antique and it just gives this contrast to the otherwise modern-ish apartment. Second tip is to have a smart space planning. It's just important to have a clutter-free and seamless flow of traffic throughout the space. And just to give you some example, last year when I helped my friend Amy when she moved into her new apartment with her family, there was this long table that was just so obstructive to the foot traffic because with it, there's only one way to go to the lounge area. And also because of that, she was also complaining that she can't really hang the curtain behind it. And so I mentioned to her that first of all, you don't really need to have that table there. You can instead put it behind the lounge, the couch, and we can have another armchair that she has in that corner to make it more cozy. And in an instant, I feel like the space is just so elevated and more polished. Another example is that when we went upstairs to her office, it's just so narrow. And I did mention to her that you don't really need to have a bench behind it because the space is already so narrow. And at the same time, for me, it's also about feng shui because in feng shui, you don't want to be facing a wall when you work, and instead you want to be able to see behind you. Ideally, it's going to be facing a door or any kind of entryway. And so that's what we did. We turned the desk, and now I don't have a video or a picture of it, but it's facing to the balcony. She has a massive balcony and also open window. And so now her office is just so spacious. Having too much space or not being able to optimize space is also not that good. For example, in this apartment before moving in, the couch was actually against the wall and creating a huge void in the middle. So we decided to divide the living area into different sections by having a floating couch. Having the right furniture at the right spot is going to always be critical. Another example would be my friend, and I'm going to actually help them do a makeover. And they do have this little long stool that is just tucked away in the corner of their living room, and it's just a wasted opportunity to use of vertical spaces. Vertical spaces is going to be so strategic because when you think of tall, high ceiling, it just represents grandeur and elegance, and that's why the use of either tall mirrors or lamps or art pieces or even curtains really helps to elongate a space, and I think it's going to make this space look more elegant. The next one is having a personalized and unique home decor or art pieces. When you think of diamonds or Birkin bag, they're expensive for a reason because they're rare and limited. And when you manage to collect all the trendy stuff from IKEA or H&M or the Togo couch, like most influencers have, I think it's beautiful, but at the same time, it just becomes so common and mass-produced, and it's no longer special. And I do understand that for larger piece of furniture, it's more expensive to have something really unique, right? But for little items like home decor, there's something that you can easily control and it's doable and you don't have to spend so much money. One example would be to have a home decor from your travels. In my case, last year we went to Hoi An in Vietnam and we got this horse, and this was in a nice boutique shop, and they work with different tribes across the region in Vietnam, and all pieces are unique and different and it's not mass produced. And so that's why all these there's a lot of interesting stories, and that's the reason why it's special. And we have this ball from Thailand, and they also practice sustainability, and it doesn't have to be just for decoration. We also got this beautiful throw blanket that we had from Lisbon. Another way would be to do some thrifting, which I've never done because I actually don't know where to shop here in Shanghai for a vintage shop, and nor do I need at the moment. But I do watch this YouTuber. He's called Lone Fox, and I think it's one of the YouTuber that is able to really do a lot of thrifting and use of vintage items and incorporate into his home or his client's home, and it's just a good mix of old and new. I don't have any Well, actually, I didn't do some thrifting, but I do have one antique in the apartment, which is this chest that I showcased earlier. The last one is quite interesting, cultural touch. I do live in China and I do have a Chinese heritage, and in the apartment I do have some Chinesey stuff. Like I do have the Bai disc, I do have the garden stool, and I do have this little ceramic. And this was actually a gift from my friend who was traveling across China, and it's just so Chinesey. And we also have this little album, and this was a gift from my partner's sibling, and it's an album of their parents, and they were the first immigrant from Greece to Australia. And you can see that the dad used to work for the mine, and all the pictures are just so vintage. And so yeah, it can be like a it doesn't have to be a decorative item, it can just be simple as books or albums. So all these items doesn't have to be expensive at all, and what's more important is that it's able to tell the story of your interests, your culture, or even your heritage. The fourth one is, of course, none other than plants. I think plants are a great way and so easy way to really elevate and make the place look plush and lush. And if I'm to choose between like a cluster of small plants or one tall plant, always have one tall plant if you can, because it's connected to what I mentioned earlier about the use of vertical spaces. And so at least having one tall plant is going to give a real statement. And a few of my favorite plants would be fiddle fig tree or the rubber tree plant. And this one is the Ficus altissima. I do like it, but honestly, if I can, I would love to have an olive tree. I've been seeing it around in social media, and I do think it's just so pretty, but I just don't have the space. There's also the birds of paradise, but it's currently in the at the balcony at the moment because it's not looking well. And but yeah, those are some of the few options. As you can see, I love to accessorize the apartment through different kinds of plants, and that's the rubber tree, there's the Boston, and one of my favorite flower, which is really hard to take care of, you need to really know what you're doing, and that would be the orchids. I think orchids are the most elegant kind of flowers that you can have, and I think it's better than having a fresh flower because it doesn't last that long, right? But this one can last for months. And one of my current favorite would be is the Japanese maple tree. It just looks so zen, and it is a great match to the lamp that I have right beside it. Last but not the least is lighting and lamps. I do have a separate video because I just did it last week, so I'm going to link it in the description below so you can feel free to watch it. And so basically lighting and lamps are the best way and easiest way to really create that mood and vibe to your space, especially in the evening. So basically there are three things I'd like to share here. So one is to have at least 5 to 7 light sources in a particular area. Like in the living room we have like 7 actually. And number 2 that you need to know is to have it in varying heights to make it more dynamic. So you have one maybe on the floor, or the ceiling, or walls, or on your table. And the third one, which is really important and for me was a game changer, is to install smart bulbs. I'm currently using the Philips, and it's just easy because I don't need to have another separate like a smart plug of sort. So I just need to plug it in and connect it to the Wi-Fi and into the app called Wiz, and now I can just control it easily. I have it on my phone and my partner's phone as well, and on my iPad. So now I can easily control it. And yes, I do understand that there's one lamp here and it's not working. For some reason, the smart bulb just doesn't work in this particular lamp. I don't know why. But anyway, these are the 5 essentials that I think can be really helpful to just easily elevate and make your space look a bit more expensive. And I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time.